She was the most photographed woman in history. The face that launched 1,000 tabloid covers. The fairy tale princess who walked down the aisle in a cloud of silk and tulle, waving to a nation that had already fallen in love with her. They called her the People's Princess. A title that felt as natural as breathing. But blood, they say, is thicker than water, and thicker than royal protocol. Because decades after her death, in the pages of a raw, brutally honest memoir, her own son revealed a secret that has left the world stunned. A confession that turns the fairy tale on its head. Prince Harry didn't just dislike his mother's royal title. He thought it was weak. Inadequate. A word too small to contain the woman who changed the world. How could the son of a princess despise the very word that made her a global icon? To understand this hatred, we have to strip away the crown. The jewels. The carriage. Princess Diana was a phenomenon. A humanitarian whose touch could heal wounds and whose glare could stop armies. But to her youngest son, the label she carried was a burden. In his memoir, Spare, Harry doesn't hold back. He writes of his mother, although my mother was a princess, named after a goddess, both those terms always felt weak, inadequate. Let that sink in. The world saw a regal figure. A symbol of grace. But Harry saw a cage. He saw a woman who was compared to Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa, and yet, he insists, even those comparisons missed the mark. She wasn't just a princess. She was something far more complex. Far more human. And in trying to label her, Harry believes, the world did her a disservice. To Harry, the title princess couldn't capture the fire in her soul. Think about what she did. In 1987, when the world was terrified of HIV, when patients were treated like lepers, Diana walked into a hospital ward, sat down, and took a man's hand. No gloves. No fear. Just compassion. That wasn't a princess move. That was a warrior's move. Then came Angola. She walked through an active minefield, defying government pressure, putting her own safety at risk to raise awareness about landmines. She didn't just wear a crown, she wore the scars of a broken world on her sleeve. But here is the tragedy. While the world saw a saint, Diana herself felt like a prisoner. Because the truth is, Diana never really liked being a princess either. The reality of royalty, the machine that chewed her up and spat her out, left her hollow. She said it herself, in that explosive Panorama interview that shocked the monarchy to its core. The day I walked down the aisle at St. Paul's Cathedral, I felt that my personality was taken away from me, and I was taken over by the royal machine. A machine. Not a family. A corporation. She wasn't just a bride. She was a product. An asset. And she knew it. Harry witnessed this. He grew up in the shadow of a mother who was compelled to perform. She smiled for the cameras, but inside, she was screaming. So, when Harry says the word princess is weak, he isn't insulting her. He is defending her. He is saying that the title was the cage, and his mother was the bird. But the cage couldn't contain her spirit. Here is where the story turns. Here is where the princess lost the title and found her truth. Despite the heavy crown, despite the palace walls, Diana discovered her escape route. Humanity. She found her purpose in the vulnerable, the forgotten, the outcasts. Nothing brings me more happiness, she once said, than trying to help the most vulnerable people in society. This wasn't a photo op. This was salvation. Harry saw this. He saw that his mother didn't find her identity in the royal bloodline. She found it in the hands she held, the lives she touched. And that is the emotional climax of this story. Harry doesn't reject his mother. He rejects the system that tried to own her. He rejects the royal machine that tried to steal her soul. Because in the end, Diana wasn't just the mother of a future king. She was the mother of a warrior. The most recognizable woman on the planet, one of the most beloved. My mother was simply indescribable, that was the plain truth. Indescribable. That is the word a son uses when he cannot fit his mother into a box. He didn't hate her title because he hated her. He hated it because it was a limitation. And his mother, Diana, was limitless. So, where does that leave us? Where does that leave the legacy? Today, the two sons, who are broken in their own ways, who currently walk separate paths, are united by one unspoken mission. Diana Spark. Prince Harry pours his soul into the Invictus Games, giving wounded soldiers a reason to fight, a reason to hope. Prince William fights a relentless battle to end homelessness, walking the streets to understand the plight of the invisible. They are her sons. Through and through. They may have disagreements. They may be divided by oceans and by anger. But you cannot deny the inheritance. Not the inheritance of money, or palaces, or titles. The inheritance of heart. Diana once said that being a princess was a role that took her personality away. But look at her boys. William, using his platform to speak for the voiceless. Harry, lifting the broken and the forgotten. They are living proof that the title didn't make the woman. The woman made the title. And perhaps, that is why Harry can't stand the label. Because princess sounds like royalty. But his mother? She sounded like hope. She didn't want to be worshipped. She wanted to be seen. And in the end, her son saw her for exactly who she was. Not a princess. Not a goddess. Just a mother who taught the world to be kind.